Gulf Stream waters. This land was made for you and me.
Welcome to Klein Tours, Trips and Tips. My name is Adele Klein and I am a travel specialist, and I plan tours all over the United States of America, and I have created so many wonderful memories. And if you would like to share your memories, if you've attended a motor coach tour with us at Kleins, please email us your stories and your photographs at kleinmemories@yahoo.com. We would love to hear from you. Today we are in Bethlehem, Pennsylvania, and we have been invited to a familiarization tour. And in the industry, that is known as a FAM tour. And we've been invited by Charlene Donchez-Mowers. She is the president of Historic Bethlehem Museums and Sites. And in a few minutes, we're going to have guests arrive, and Charlene is going to tell us a little bit about what's so exciting here in Bethlehem.
The steel plant of today is usually a self-contained unit with extensive production and manufacturing facilities covering an area of many hundreds of acres. The enormous tonnages of raw materials and semi-finished products handled through the various steel-making processes call for heavy and powerful equipment. Coke ovens, where coal is converted into coke. Blast furnaces, where iron ore is reduced to pig iron. Bessemer converters, and open-hearth furnaces refining pig iron and scrap into steel. Electric furnaces for the production of alloy and special steels. Rolling mills, forge shops, and drawing mills where the steel is shaped into a variety of products. Machine shops, foundries, power plants, transportation systems. For each ton of pig iron produced in the blast furnace, approximately 1 8/10 tons of ore, 9/10 of a ton of coke, 4/10 of a ton of limestone, and 4 tons of preheated air are required. A modern blast furnace is a circular steel shell, 100 feet high or more, with a hearth diameter of about 25 feet and lined with brick. A clay plug is removed from the tap hole, releasing the molten iron, which rushes down the runners. The slag is separated from the iron by a skimmer and is taken off on one side through a trough to the slag ladle. Molds made of sand held in a frame called a flask are used in making the castings.
Hello everyone, my name is Charlene Donchez-Mowers. I'm president of Historic Bethlehem Museums and Sites. And today I'm standing here in front of the Bethlehem Steel blast furnaces. Delighted to welcome you as we walk around the former Bethlehem Steel site. This was an incredible place. It stretched for over 4 miles along the Lehigh River, and at its peak, it employed over 30,000 people during World War II. We are actually standing in front of the oldest building on the site. This is the stockhouse for the first generation of blast furnaces. If you can imagine how small the blast furnaces must have been in order to have this as the place where all the materials were stored. Obviously not these big blast furnaces, would have never worked. Just to give you, before we move, this was from the 1860s, this building, the stockhouse. The blast furnaces had names, but A, B, C, D, and E blast furnaces. And A and D were the largest, am I right? B and D. B and D were the largest blast furnaces, and they could produce 10,000 tons of iron in a day. It's amazing to think of the production. Here we are literally in the shadow of the blast furnaces. And they were built starting in 1900, with the most recent one built around the 1950s. There were 2 more that have since were torn down many years ago. But as you can see, they're a state of disrepair. Unfortunately, we have been told that they are structurally sound. I had the opportunity of actually going up into the blast furnaces And it's fascinating, but the public is not allowed on the blast furnaces because there are little bits and pieces that do come down, and it's dangerous because it's just a dangerous place to be. But they are made up of various parts. They are, in essence, a big oven that's going to cook something. So what they did was take the raw materials to make it into molten iron, and the molten iron was then put in these big railroad cars that were called submarine cars and taken to a different place here on the site. And then there were other cars that were used to take away the slag or the impurities. Kathy has a picture of a submarine car smoldering because it was filled with molten iron. And there is the slag pot. That's all the impurities. And when that cooled, the impurities were actually used as roadway material. So this steel company started out with molten iron, then made into steel, and then made into a number of different products. During the First World War, Bethlehem Steel Company was actually called the Arsenal of Democracy because of all of all the things that they were able to produce for the war effort. Supposedly in World War II, they produced 60% of the armaments for World War II. Just Bethlehem Steel, not just this plant in Bethlehem, but across Bethlehem Steel Corporation. Any of you know anyone who worked at Bethlehem Steel in any of its locations? Pottstown. It was a huge company. Bethlehem was just the home plant for Bethlehem Steel. Started in 1857, grew very rapidly to become the #2 steel producer in the entire country. No matter what kind of weather, Kathy and I are dressed as steel workers would have been dressed. Would have worn flannel shirts or heavy shirts, jeans or heavy material, because no matter where you went on the plant, something was moving, something could fall. And I actually have a hat. If anyone would like one, you're welcome. Would anyone like a hat? Would you? Here you go. Yes. You are a new steel worker. Awesome. And a new steel worker, put your head down so people can see the top, had a big red X on the top because there were things called the overhead traveling cranes. I don't see one. I don't see one that I can point out. But the cranes, nothing here was little. Everything was big. Everything was massive. Everything weighed a lot. A cube of steel, 1 foot by 1 foot by 1 foot, weighed 425 pounds. Huge, huge amount. So it wasn't like somebody could just walk over and pick it up. You had to have something. So you had a crane, overhead cranes that would move on railroad tracks that could come and pick things up. So in different machine shops, there may be all sorts of different cranes moving at different times and moving different stuff. And these cranes would have to watch out for the newbies. And so any new person would have a red X on the top of their head so that people would know they were new and had to specially watch out for them. Yes, you have to be careful. Watch where you're going. In addition to the cranes, there were something like 900 miles of railroad tracks in this plant. Remember, the plant stretched 4 miles here along the river, plus partway into South Bethlehem. And they used the railroads to help move all the stuff that they couldn't move by hand because it was so heavy. Very interesting. The company also worked in shift work. They had 2 separate shifts. They had 8 to 4, 4 to midnight, midnight to 8, and 7 to 3, 3 to 11, 11 to 7. So they didn't have everyone leaving work at the same time. And then the people in the offices worked 9 to 5, so that coming out, 30,000 people in its heyday coming out of the plant, they weren't all coming out at exactly the same time. Any other comments about the blast furnaces, Kathy?
I do want to point out, earlier in the tour we saw Sands Casino Resort Bethlehem. keeping in mind that was the former ore yard, a 13-acre ore yard. This is where train cars were loaded up with ores to come to the blast furnaces. So in front of the blast furnace is the Hoover Mason Trestle. That is in the process of being restored as a walkway. So sometime relatively soon, tourists will be able to go up in front of the blast furnaces and take that half-mile walk out to Sands Casino Resort Bethlehem and come back, and you will get some spectacular views along the way.
It's supposed to be, we all have our fingers crossed, it's supposed to be done sometime this fall, but there are some serious structural issues that they have to solve. But the city is working with historic preservation architectural firm to get that underway, so we're very, very excited about that. This is the Bessemer Rail Rolling Mill. This was the first fully integrated steel mill where they took raw materials in at one end and ended up with finished product at the other end. It was a double cruciform building, meaning it was a double cross. It was two crosses. Kathy has the diagram. And this was the first use of the Bessemer process here in this country. And I'm not going to get into the details of the Bessemer process, but this was a way of turning iron into steel. And that was important because it was important to move from iron rails for the railroad industry to steel rails. Iron was very fragile. You don't think of iron being fragile, but it could easily crack. Steel was much more durable. And so it was important for the steel industry, for the railroad industry, to have steel rails. And that's what made it possible to do the transcontinental railroad with steel rails. But this building was designed by John Fritz. And you'll notice that even the roof trusses are made of something that was not going to burn. That was extremely important because there was fire all around them. At one time, when this was being built from the 1760s, in the late 1760s, after the Civil War, John Fritz, the chief engineer, was very afraid of fire, and so they built these buildings without wood. Wherever they could not use wood, they did not use wood. So you'll notice that all the supports are either steel or iron, cast iron, so that they would not have that. And this was, the cross pieces are 300 feet wide this way, which is about the length of a football field, which is 100 yards, and 3 football fields long. It is believed that at one point 700 men worked in this double cruciform building, turning molten iron into steel and finished rails. That's why it's called the Bessemer Rail Rolling Mill, and it was the first continuous process of rail. The other thing we talked about was the various railroads. Go ahead, Kathy.
So you're in your workspace. This was an iron foundry until 1995. When the hot end of the plant shut down, this shut down. So you're in your workspace, and one of those sub cars that we saw could come in there bringing in a load of hot metal. Heat was a problem for a lot of these guys. They could not wear synthetic fibers. It would melt right to your skin. You had to wear cotton or wool. They used long underwear year-round to protect themselves from the heat. Some jobs required you to wear wooden clogs. If you didn't work quickly enough, your clogs would catch on fire. So honestly, it seems fantastic, but it's true. So again, just keep in mind the conditions these guys labored in.
The other interesting thing is you can see the different railroad tracks. They had wide railroad tracks and standard track and narrow. So they had wide gauge, standard gauge, and narrow gauge, depending upon what the machinery had to do and what they were moving where. So, and I don't see any overhead cranes here. They're hiding. They're overhead traveling cranes.
Thank you for joining us over here in Bethlehem for this wonderful walking tour. We had a beautiful day. And if you would like to bring a group over here to Bethlehem, please contact us at KleinTransportation.com or call us at 800-451-6700. It's a great place to visit.
You know, half the fun is getting there when you travel in style and comfort with the added benefit of safety and convenience. Wayne Klein of Klein Transportation is committed to providing superior quality vehicles for passengers and employees. He invites you to board our new 2014 MCI model J4500. You're going to fall in love with its classy curb appeal and its attractive exterior LED lighting system. Passengers and driver safety is always a priority, and the Klein fleet of MCI coaches is among the safest vehicles on the road today. The new J4500 employs a substantial front structure that features corrosion-resistant components and uses biodiesel, which offers better fuel efficiency to protect our environment. Now, when entering the motor coach, you'll be impressed by the patented spiral low-rise stairwell. The stylish cabin reflects the quality of Klein service that you have come to know and expect. The tiered theater-style seating in the first few rows offers everyone a prime view through their expansive scenery-sized tinted windows. Comfortable seats with first-class legroom and LED-lit interiors create now a sense of drama and elegance. There are 6 15-inch widescreen high-definition monitors for your entertainment, the largest available within the motor coach industry. 110-volt outlets throughout the coach, allowing you the convenience of charging your electronic devices for business or pleasure. The Klein fleet offers the best-in-class partial rack space and a convenient restroom in the back. Safety features of the J4500 include a fire suppression system, which immediately notifies your driver of a fire on the coach and utilizes space-age technology to put it out, even before help arrives. There are non-slip surfaces throughout the coach, including on stairwells and in aisleways. The vehicle comes equipped with electronic stability control, which evens out your already smooth ride and keeps the coach well under your driver's control. Each seat on this new coach is equipped with 3-point safety belts for your safety. The driver's seat has the industry's highest position to maximize driver visibility. The windows are laminated and tinted glass with a dual latching emergency exits offering awesome visibility and safety. Drivers also have all their controls within easy reach with the new ergonomically designed dashboard. Pre-trip inspections are further aided by the J4500's ability to automatically perform a light check from the driver's dash. This coach is the global leader in vehicle electronics and diagnostic manufacturing, enabling the Klein professional technicians to access problems from a one-touch screen location. Whether now you're a first-time motor coach traveler or a long-time loyal customer, we invite you to join us on board our new MCI J4500 to the destination of your choice. We offer group charters and travel planning assistance for group leaders. Klein tours, pre-planned one-day trips, and overnight excursions for individuals or small groups. And of course, our regularly scheduled Pennsylvania or Atlantic City casino trips. Our friendly and helpful staff is available to assist you simply by calling 1-800-451-6700 or get a quick quote online at kleintransportation.com. Half the fun is getting there. Welcome aboard.
Well, I say PCTV, won't you come with me? Oh, PCTV, come along and go with me. It's a good show. Everybody's got to know. PCTV, PCTV.